Welcome back to AV Veterans Talk. We're continuing our conversation with this week's guest, Bob Abrams. So, Bob, you think of that time period over there, and of course, you're an MP, but I mean the firefights that were involved, because they really became, it was urban warfare after a while, correct?
Yes.
They were fighting. You were fighting in the streets. Today we talk about suicide bombers and improvised explosive devices and things like that, but really Vietnam had kind of the same thing going on.
There was no front line.
There was no front line.
No.
Yeah.
And you had sappers, we called them, not suicide bombers, we call them sappers, would run into the middle of your compound with strapped bombs all over themselves in the middle of the night and detonate themselves. So we had landmines everywhere.
Yeah.
Our Jeeps we lined with sandbags everywhere we could. You had to expose the pedals to gas and clutch. But I was more concerned about getting blown up with a stinking landmine than I was getting shot. So. But snipers, especially convoy escorts. Convoy escorts were cool because you had all kinds of support. We had this, what I call Deuce in that big truck, 2.5-ton truck, that had the quad 50s mounted on the back, which is supposed to be an anti-aircraft weapon.
Right.
It's better than an anti-aircraft weapon.
Yeah.
But they would go with us. We'd have air cover, so we would go from point A to point B, stop. All the birds, the Hueys would set down, and then we gear up and we go again. So those are cool. The patrolling was mostly snipers or ambushes.
Yeah.
So it was urban because we're in the town of Quin Yon, but it's also rural because we're out patrolling Highway 1, making sure every morning at 6 o'clock we'd go and make sure the highways were open so the convoys could start running.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the ambushes and sniping took place.
Yeah.
Not up until the Tet Offensive, it was regular. Like I said, for a month, maybe a month and a half, there was nothing, and then after that, it started all over again as far as that. But it was NVA troops coming down and teaching the locals, because several times we would have our KIAs were killed in actions. There would be one guy in uniform and two young guys, 14 to 18 years old, that he had been training. So there was no Viet Cong left. So he was down there. Troops would come down and train them. So it was interesting.
It was. Kind of a different question, I guess you'd say. Your worst day over there? You had one day that really was like it was a struggle?
Yeah, I had two friends that, one black, one white. Helped them both make sergeant while they were there. When I first got in country, there was racial problems in my platoon, which we're in stinking war. Racial problems? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And to not to sidetrack it too much, but I took my whole platoon. They made me the platoon sergeant because I was from California.
Okay.
Because I would have no prejudices.
Right. Gotcha.
I don't know what that meant, but
I don't know either. So
I had we had 2-story barracks. I had downstairs was all my black troops, and upstairs was all my hillbillies.
Yeah.
So you go through BB King, downstairs and go upstairs, and you listen to country.
Right.
I took everybody, loaded them in a couple of trucks. I took them down to Graves registration. It was a horrible thing, but I unzipped as many body bags as I could.
Yeah.
There was never a lack of body bags at Graves registration. Showed these guys that these were the color of the uniforms, which is all that mattered.
Yeah.
They were killing us because of what we were wearing, not because of our race.
Right.
And to be fighting each other was totally ridiculous.
Right.
Split up they had put black guys downstairs, white guys, or switched them around.
Yeah.
We all started organizing volleyball. They call us Rubes boys. We had barbecues, stuff like anything to make us a unit,
right,
as opposed to black troops and the white troops. They wanted we were patrolling 24 hours a day, so they wanted the black guys to patrol during the daytime and the white guys to patrol. I mean, it was nuts.
Yeah.
So, not to go too far, but one night watch, Morgan was the black sergeant, good friend of mine. Was driving down. He's trying to drive down to an area where there was a hamlet where prostitutes hung out. We knew GIs would go in there and get their throats slit. So at night you go down there and clear them all out and bring them home.
Yeah.
And they were ambushed. There's two vehicles. The lead vehicle was a sergeant, and it's an open vehicle, and a Jeep had put armor around with them. So it was a gun Jeep was the second vehicle, and they threw a grenade into Morgan's Jeep and killed him. and his Korean was with him.
No.
The second Jeep made it through without. You drive lights out, so they didn't know that second Jeep was there. Morgan's in the front, the sergeant in the front has the lights on. They think it's only one Jeep. The gun Jeep in the back has no lights on, so that's how you patrol. And they got through and called for help. Well, Ike, it's only one road. I came down that same road. I trained them differently, but they just moved the ambush up, knowing where the support was coming from. In the ambush, I got the Silver Star. I didn't know that until the last time I visited Wall 2 years ago. The Wall comes out here, and I found out that he had awarded him the Silver Star. Ike's a black guy, a white guy. Hank's a black guy. It didn't matter.
Yep.
So, among some, that's probably the worst day.
Yeah. Boy, obviously we deal with the civil rights issues that was going on in the 60s, and when you hear stories like that, we always think, the military, the segregation, things like that. A lot of people, from World War II and things like that was still kind of going on, but it's interesting to see, like, no matter what the policies are, when you get into combat, you realize that those barriers need to come down, and you need to focus on, I've got your back, you got mine.
Yes.
And we're fighting here as a team, and we need to put all that aside.
Yes.
And boy, I wish we could get more of that mindset today, and a lot of issues there. So we're going to take a break here, and we'll come back. We'll kind of finish up the little Vietnam thing in there, and then I'll get your reflections on current state of military in the world today. Okay?
Okay.
All right, Bob. Thanks. I'm Bob Alvis, and thanks for joining us for this segment of AV Veterans Talk.